6 o'clock, and welcome to this regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Education. And let's welcome our Broken Arrow students to lead us in the pledge. Welcome. States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Could you all please maybe introduce yourselves before you head out? Is that okay? Or what do you think?
We would love to introduce our group as a whole.
That would be fantastic.
We are the Broken Arrow Elementary School ASL Club. We started last year during second semester with the help of Ms. Farmer. She joined our school and she is deaf and very fluent in signing. Myself and been working with her vocabulary repertoire. We're still learning from her along with the kids every week, and we have a good time. So we really appreciate you guys giving us our first opportunity to be able to demonstrate our skills. It's been a fun time. We're hoping to get more chances to kind of show off what we got.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing with us today. Come back and see us soon. All right, I don't know how we top that. Yeah. All right, so we are at item 1.3, adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So move, Goodburn.
Thank you. Second?
Second, Hembry.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Now I will be seeking a motion to approve multiple minutes here from 1.4 to 1:10, and unless anyone wants to pull a particular set of minutes, do I have a motion to approve?
So move, Borgman.
Thank you. Second?
Second, Goodburn.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. This brings us to our superintendent report, item 2.1. Dr. Hubbard.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Sinclair. I want to take a moment as we begin to congratulate all the student artists in this year's Shawnee Mission Area Council PTA Reflections Contest. Earlier this evening, we held a recognition for all of the incredible student artists. We congratulate each and every student, as well as their family members and their teachers. We will include a link in the recap for all who want to watch the ceremony. Please help spread the word that pre-kindergarten and kindergarten enrollment is beginning soon. Enrollment opens online at 8 a.m. on Friday, February the 10th, 2023. Families will be able to complete application and reserve their spots. Those without technology access are encouraged to contact their area school for kindergarten, and our pre-K families are encouraged to contact the early childhood office. Opportunities will be held in the coming weeks for students and families to connect with school staff and learn more about the school experience. Everyone in the district is encouraged to share this information with any families who have 4- and 5-year-olds. We'll include a link for more resources in the recap. We are now looking for the next great idea in Shawnee Mission. This contest, part of the district's Research and Develop Forum, gives student entrepreneurs a chance to share their ideas for solving a problem. By entering, students have the opportunity to win prizes to make their ideas a reality. Interested students are invited to attend an information session on WebEx at 6 p.m. on Thursday, February the 2nd. We will include a link in the recap for all that want to join that WebEx. We want to send our congratulations to Westridge Middle School. They earned their first championship title in the district-wide Battle of the Books contest. This is a book-based competition where readers from all Shawnee Mission middle schools put their book-related knowledge to a test by answering trivia questions. Way to go, Westridge, and librarian Karen Dirks. Shawnee Mission South recently celebrated having one of the longest-running Arabic programs in the country. This month, they celebrated during their annual Arabic Festival. The event featured food, henna, calligraphy, games, music, and dance. 30 years after it began, the program still continues to grow. We congratulate Shawnee Mission South on this anniversary. This month, we are taking some time to celebrate our Board of Education, as it is Board of Education Recognition Month. We ask a few of our students to join in on the celebration. So let's take a look.
I have no idea who those people are. They look like a bunch of principals. They look like they sit in long meetings. Do they work with superheroes? Now this is what I've been waiting for. Thank you for letting the camera roll this long just so that I can...
Students need to be more clean in the bathrooms and all the places. They respect the school and their property.
I just like people to be nice and don't push, don't shove, report any wrong behaviors. I would like to see more breaks during the school day. Recess is enough, but when kids are so tired and they get out there, they don't feel like they have enough time to just be free. I'd like to have more math and PE during the day. If I was on the school board, I would say kids could read whenever they want. I don't know if there should be any changes because I don't know, I just like it the way it is.
Our Shawnee Mission School Board is made up of a very important group of leaders.
They are responsible for working with the superintendent to establish the vision for the district and set priorities, approving the annual budget, creating and improving policies.
They also hire the superintendent of schools, evaluate the superintendent's performance, and help build support for public education by serving as ambassadors and advocates.
They do all this as volunteers. This January is Board of Education Appreciation Month. Please join us in thanking Shawnee Mission board members for all they do for our schools, our students, our staff, and community. Thank you, Shawnee Mission Board of Education.
Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you, school board, for letting me be here right now. Thank you, Shawnee Mission School Board, for making this a great school. Thank you, school board, for helping kids when they need it. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you, school board, for making my school a better place.
So a quick thank you to the students at Raymarsh and then the high school students that sat on the Superintendent Advisory Group for helping express our thanks. We really do appreciate all you do for our schools, so thank you. We're excited to welcome middle and high school students to the Center of Academic Achievement last week for a recent signature program open house. Students and their families were able to tour state-of-the-art classrooms, hear from teachers and students, and learn about opportunities in animation and game design, biotechnology, culinary arts, engineering, health science, and Project Blue Eagle, which is the district's fire science, EMS, and law enforcement program. For anyone who didn't make it this time, there's still plenty of ways to learn about our signature programs. School counselors are excellent resources, and we will include a link in the recap for more information regarding our signature programs. We just wanted to provide a quick reminder that the Shawnee Mission will have a team for the Polar Plunge this February in support of Kansas Special Olympics. Polar Plunge participants will take a brief jump in icy cold water at Lake Olathe. I know that sounds amazing to all of you. There will also be a 5K and a few other ways to support this important cause. This district-wide team will support students and staff across the district. And speaking of polar weather, over the winter break, we experienced catastrophic flooding in a number of district buildings caused by severe cold weather. We had 13 major issues at 12 building sites, including here at the Center for Academic Achievement. I want to express my deep appreciation to the district staff from Operations and Maintenance and ICT who were out in buildings beginning Christmas Eve and who worked every day for the rest of the holiday break in order to get us back up and running. Due to the timing of the damage, we were forced to utilize our emergency spending procedures to limit the damage and begin the emergency repairs. You will see an item on tonight's agenda related to this, and then we will have one, we believe, at the next agenda as well. I now invite Dominic Flora, principal at Overland Park Elementary, to introduce our first All-Star tonight.
Good evening. So I brought a crew with me tonight because the woman that we're honoring tonight embodies this phrase, and that's no one is a passenger, we are a crew. She does things not for the spotlight, which I know this is probably a hard evening in a sense to take for her, but what she brings to our school community is unmatched. And when we talked about Mrs. Peary before she arrived even this evening, the amount of adults that were and students that were sharing different stories and how special she is to our school community, even in that short amount of time, just embodies what she does on a daily basis at our school. So without further ado, we want to honor Mrs. Denise Peary with the AllStar Award.
Our journey here at Overland Park would not be what it is without Mrs. Peary. As both a parent of 2 students here as well as a staff member here at Overland Park, she understands that we want what's best for our kids, and you could tell that she also wants what's best for our kids.
Mrs. Peary is an all-star for a variety of reasons. School secretary is the first face that kids see, that parents see, that community members see. So her impact from that standpoint is being the first person to, share our collective vision, the first person to make people feel welcome, all the things she does that keep us glued together as a school.
A lot of us refer to her as our work mom. And so not only our work mom, but she's very motherly to our students as well. It's not a pick and choose. Everyone deserves her time, and she lets everyone know that.
It feels good someone cares about us like that. She sits down with people, talk to them, if they're having a bad day.
She's a really great listener. She was really not there as a staff, she was there as a friend.
She makes us feel welcome. She always makes us feel like this is our home, and she's so sweet.
She is one of those people that I know has just the utmost integrity and has the best interests of everyone when it comes to making decisions. She is the epitome of someone that would give you the shirt off their back if it meant that you would have a better day.
Our school and our kids would not be the same without you. You are the heart and the foundation of our building, and you really make OPE the fantastic place that it is. Thank you.
Mrs. Peary, we hope that you feel the love and gratitude we have for you. Congratulations. Nobody more deserving than you, and no better teammate to share in our work together and in our craft. And we love you, and we can't say thank you enough. Congratulations.
It's an honor, it's a privilege. I've been at the same school, and I've been lucky to be there for 24 years. It's a privilege. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Congratulations. Thank you. Students, thanks for joining us. And now we invite Jonathan Farrell, principal at Mill Creek Elementary, to introduce our next All-Star for the evening.
Thank you. Shannon Pomerantz is one of those teachers that makes the school a special place for students. She has a keen ability to connect with her sixth graders. And this is saying a lot, because while being awesome, sixth graders are really tricky. She invests time and effort to know her students and connects with them in a way that earns their trust and their respect. Her sixth grade students are at Trail Ridge Middle School tonight, learning about their next adventure in seventh grade, but they wanted me to let you know what makes Mrs. Pomerantz special. They said, Mrs. Pomerantz is kind. She notices how we come in each day so that if we're sad or feeling down, she helps us. She's caring toward us, and she walks us through hard things. And they said Mrs. Pomerantz is amazing. She helps us learn in creative ways. She's the funniest teacher I've ever had. She helps us stay organized and know what we need to learn next. She is loyal and stands up for her students. Our kids said it well. Congratulations, Ms. Pomerantz. You are a Shawnee Mission All-Star.
Shannon's an all-star because she does what's right for kids. She connects with her students, she builds relationships with them.
She knows their interest, and she'll ask them about specific things about their life.
She's always there to help with anything.
You know, sixth graders are a quirky bunch, and she connects with them by, asking about their day, figuring out what matters to them, and then making the content that she teaches relevant and meaningful for her students.
I don't really know how to explain it. She's just a really awesome teacher. She honestly just gets, the students. I'm really lucky that I got her as my ELA teacher in social studies.
She just has a gift. That's how I would put it. She has a gift, and she has just guided me through teaching, and I couldn't have asked for a better mentor, and I just try and model what Shannon does for our students because she does it so well. I think that the reason I am the teacher I am today is because of Shannon. She just is such an amazing person and friend and colleague to everyone.
My daughter had some medical and neurological issues that developed, and she just provided her with all sorts of great support. She got to the point where she was able to just look at her face and know when something was off, and we could talk to her about it and deal with whatever issue had come up, and became a really trusted adult.
She'll always go out of her way to help other people if they're in trouble. And also, she has a dog, that's very special.
She got the dog, started doing training, and it's just been amazing. And Shannon's done all of it just on her own. No one asked her to do it. And it's for our school. It's for the better of our school and for our students. So I think it just speaks volumes to how amazing she truly is.
Congratulations, Mrs. Pomerantz. I'm so happy you won the award.
You are so, so deserving, and I can't wait to see where you go as our years go on.
Congratulations, Mrs. Pomerantz. I'm so excited for you, and you're terrific.
Thank you for being an awesome teacher and one that I enjoy so much.
Shannon, I am so proud of you. I can't thank you enough for all that you have done for me, and I will continue to admire you and cheer you on.
Thank you very much. It's an honor. I work with amazing people. This whole district is filled with amazing people, so to be recognized by this is truly wonderful. So thank you very much.
Congratulations, Shannon. And that concludes my superintendent report for tonight.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hubbard, and congratulations to our amazing All-Stars. The next item on our agenda is 2.2, Board Report. And so I'm going to start with Ms. Boyd-Nerona. Any update on SMAC PTA?
Not at this time.
Okay. All right. Ms. Owsley, I believe there was a foundation meeting? Okay. All right. And are there any other board reports? I'm kind of looking. Ms. Okay. Ms. Goodburn.
Policy review, we have a meeting coming up next Monday at 3:30, I believe.
Okay. All right. All right, very good. Thank you. Okay, item 2.3, Board Financial Report. Dr. Hubbard.
Yeah, so you'll see the December board report there, as well as SR2 and SR3. We're going to talk a little more about SR3 under discussion items, but those are there for your review.
Okay. Any questions at this time? Okay, thank you. Item 3.1, our first discussion item, Priority 1 Clinic Annual Review. Dr. Hubbard.
Yeah, so we have Dr. Sackyu from the clinic and one of our partners, I believe, from CBiz, is that correct? To join us tonight. Dr. Schumacher is unavailable to join us tonight, but I just real quickly want to say how lucky I think we are to have Priority 1 in the Shawnee Mission School District for our staff members. I know many of us here at the CAA utilize the clinic on a regular basis, and I know it's a great benefit for our staff to keep them well and get back in school as quickly as possible, because we all know that that's what's best for kids, to have their teacher in front of them. And so we feel very fortunate to have this, and I think you'll see from the data tonight that it's paying off. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Erin.
Thank you so much. I hate following those all-star presentations, but we'll make do. I'm really proud to have worked with the school district for as long as I have, since we started talking about the health center back in 2017, actually 2015 is when we started the conversations, and it opened in 2017. This slide just gives you a high-level kind of look back, look forward to what we've accomplished over the last 5+ years. Just a couple of dates in the in here that I'll call out. In December of 2018, we added more provider hours, recognizing the need existed to better serve the population. In March of 2020, along with all of you, the Priority 1 Health Center began responding to the COVID-19 pandemic. That led to rolling out virtual health, ultimately assisting with vaccinations, mass testing assistance as well. In September of 2020, we began behavioral health with that quick expansion in first January of 2021, and then again in August of 2021, just continuing to extend hours or add hours as we needed. November of 2021 was when the COVID vaccine rollout within the health center occurred. In December of 2021, we added an additional medical assistant, again, recognizing the need to best serve the population. And then just over last summer, we expanded our vaccine offerings to include pneumococcal and shingles vaccine for those who need it. So it's really a mission of the district that bleeds into the service that we provide from CBiz and that Marathon Health provides to continue to evaluate how to best serve, meet the needs of the population, and try to continue to make this Priority 1 Health Center be the best that it can be. And as Dr. Hubbard mentioned, you're going to see in the data that's being reflected in the utilization. So utilization is by far the single most substantial determinant of financial success. There are many ways to measure success of health centers. Obviously, the human side of things, but one of the things that we do look at is the financial opportunity, and utilization is what drives that. You can see that we have over 52% of employees utilizing the health center, 21% of spouses and children, so just over 45% total utilizers. We saw a brief dip in the fourth year and then have gotten back up, and that's really just sort of that kind of, we saw that in all of our health centers related to just COVID, though Priority 1 never closed. There just was a blip in the way that utilization occurred. We also look at how many new patients are entering the doors, and you can see that 27% of our patients this year were brand new. That's an excellent indicator that we're getting all of the new people that you're hiring coming in and starting to utilize the services, while at the same time maintaining the folks that have utilized it. So you can see over 70% are established, so people come back, and that's a testament to Dr. Sacchio and her team. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty details and the demographics, but you can see some splits around how well within each gender and age group we're seeing folks access the health center. And really what we want to see is that in the groups where health and well-being become more of an issue, that they're realizing and utilizing the service, and we're seeing that. So all good news there. The Priority 1 was very busy, and you can see that in these numbers. They saw there were 5,550 kept visits. That was up 21% from the prior year. So phenomenal growth. We had 7,300 scheduled appointments. So what that means is that the difference between those two, a small portion, 3% no-showed. That's incredibly small. That's an excellent statistic. In the community, you often see closer to 10+%. And in a school district in particular, where getting away is challenging oftentimes, we even see higher percentages. But as a district, as a board, you all have supported employees getting away and being able to take care of themselves, and I think that's reflected here. The other are appointments that were either canceled and rescheduled, or just canceled because the need was no longer there. Of the total visits, 6% were for new patients, 94% were for established. Of the visits, 1,200 were coded as coaching visits. So that doesn't mean that's the only reason they were there, but that means that while they were there, the providers took the opportunity not only to treat their presenting condition, so not just the rash, the sore throat, the earache, but also to talk about potentially underlying health issues with those folks. There were 383 preventive physicals, which was up 45% from the prior year. That's excellent to see. And we saw just under 1,500 telephonic or video visits. A large portion of those are tied to our behavioral health provider. And that's not because she's not available in person, she is, but a lot of people have found that virtual option to be something that they prefer, and so she meets them where they are. Certainly the providers also do a fair amount of virtual care as well. And then in that far right-hand side, those numbers for injury, those are work comp. So 62 individuals were seen, or 62 injuries. I don't know if they were all different people, I hope so. We're seen for an initial injury, so that they incurred in the workplace, and then 51 of them were able to follow up. The others either didn't require a follow-up or potentially were sent to another level of care. I'm not going to review this slide. This is really just for your records and comparison, but it just to show you some year-over-year data around our visits. We started doing this with COVID just to track what was happening, how COVID was impacting our volumes, and then we've just seen value in that going forward. You can see, generally speaking, we've seen major increases in every single category. One of the processes in the health center is after each visit, patients are offered what we call a post-visit survey. It's a quick survey that they can complete on an iPad. We had just over 1,200 responses, so that's about a 22% response rate. Of those responses, 98.7 indicated that the appointments were available. The appointment times were either available or convenient for them. 81.4 said that they waited 0 to 5 minutes beyond their original appointment time, but when we expanded that to 10 minutes, it was 96%. So people are waiting minimal amounts of time. 98.3% rated their services as good or excellent. 99.2% said they were either likely or very likely to use the health center again. 99.7% indicated their privacy and confidentiality were maintained. 99.3% said that they were willing to recommend the health center. Anytime we get anything other than a good or excellent response, we dig in, make sure that there's nothing actionable that we can take from it. More often than not, honestly, the times where somebody says that their privacy wasn't maintained, it's seemingly a fat finger. We very rarely actually have examples where somebody has something that's actionable, but we do check that every single time. The word cloud there, the larger the word, the more times it's been repeated in a free text comment. So you can see staff, very, listen, great, time, care, doctor, obviously, help, friendly. If you really get in there, you'll see every single provider's name actually listed. And that's somebody typing in a response. And your folks take the time to provide really phenomenal feedback. Just wanted to share just a few of the free text results. I will note that we ask whether comments can be used in marketing and communication materials. If they say no, even if there's not any kind of identifying information, we don't share those. So these are all ones that have been okayed to share. So I wanted to read a few of them. Dr. Omegar, who's our newest provider, was exactly the doctor I needed at this time. He was so kind, took an interest in me and my life, and was incredibly helpful in getting me my medication. I will be using him as my primary care physician from now on. Dr. Sacku is a treasure. She didn't mind my scheduling for 2 different issues, and she spent a lot of time addressing both. She was a great listener, offered information and possibilities for my concerns that hadn't occurred to me, and which greatly eased my mind. I am very thankful to be in her care. I absolutely love Jen Simon. Jen is our counselor. I'm so happy to have access to her regularly and be able to fit it into my workday so I can manage my mental health and my work-life balance and be a better teacher for my students. I am new to the district, and I've seen Amanda. Amanda's our nurse practitioner. Twice. She was excellent and really took the time to speak with me about things. She took time to do a follow-up call. I feel fortunate to have this benefit to see high-quality healthcare professionals. I would highly recommend. It was very convenient to be able to work in a district that provides quality service to their employees. I think we need to emphasize the perks of working in Shawnee Mission School District and the advantage of having Priority 1 Health Center. We look at these weekly and are often just kind of blown away at the level of detail and care that folks take to provide this feedback. So, all right, so some financials. I just wanted to talk through. This is really looking at an estimated employee savings, so dollars back in the employees' pockets based upon utilizing the health center versus accessing care in the community. The assumption that is behind this is that the care that would have been sought would have been primary care. So that's an assumption. They could have accessed urgent care. They could have accessed emergency room. They could have not accessed care as well. And so there is just that base assumption. You're going to notice if you've looked at this data long enough that these numbers are slightly lower than what we've seen in prior years, and that's because in the emergency period that we are currently in and has been extended through the end of 2024, virtual care for individuals on with health savings accounts can be offered at no cost. And so we are doing that within the Health and Wellness Center, but that's also available in the community. And so because of that, it's a 0-0 comparison. And so that just kind of reduces the potential savings. But you can see that over this year, the savings has been over $125,000. And if you take that by every employee utilizer, that's $76 per employee that they've saved on average. Since the health center opened, we're just over $450,000 in employee savings. And then we also look at what's the impact to the district's health plan in terms of cost avoidance. And I always caveat this by saying that there are many things that drive how health plan dollars ultimately are utilized and spent. And so there's not one single factor that you can tease out and say this was exclusively because of the priority one. However, one of the things that we do when we look at the return on investment is we pull out high-cost claimants. So we pull those folks out because we don't want a really wonderful high-cost claimant year to look like the health center was a savior, and we don't want a really horrible high-cost claimant year where really a primary care office doesn't have the opportunity to impact claims to have it look particularly negative. So we baseline it by pulling it out, and you can see in year 5, the dollars spent were just over $1.5 million in cost avoidance, and we're going to get to a little bit more detail around the calculation in the next slide, was about $8.5 million in medical and pharmacy claims, work comp, about $430,000, so that's $7.4 million in return on investment, which is a 5.8 to 1. Since the priority 1 opened, you've seen about a 4 to 1 return on investment. So how do we calculate this? If you look at this slide, this is looking at our per member per month health plan claims. This is for the clinic year, so this is this doesn't match up to your plan year. It's a 12-month period, but it's just clinic year, so the numbers aren't going to be exactly the same as when you do your annual performance review with the benefits side. But what you can see is that green line shows you what per member per month, what has happened since the health center opened. So that's once high-cost claimants are removed. Baseline year, so the year prior to the Health and Wellness Center being opened, you were at 329, and this past year at 287. What you don't hear about medical and pharmacy trend is it goes down, and that's what has happened here over this period of time, and the Health and Wellness Center is absolutely a contributor to that. Now, that's avoided cost. However, I will show you in that gray line at the top, that's your all-in with high-cost claimants. That's your actual costs. So you've stayed fairly flat, but you've had high-cost claimants that have really impacted your plan substantially. So, and then that dotted line is a trend line. So we use our CBIZ actuarial trend, and it changes year to year. Between years 4 and 5, we used 8.1 as a blended trend. 7.3 was used the 2 years prior, and then 9% prior to that. So that's just something that our actuaries evaluate on an annual basis, and we just apply that as the trend. With that, I will open up to any questions you all have.
Thank you for that. I'm always impressed at the depth of information that's provided in these reports, so thank you. And your particular attention that's paid to open comments, to review and respond to those on a weekly, look at those weekly says a lot, given all the other information that you're looking at. I'm going to look up and down the dais and open up to questions. All right, Ms. Borgman?
Thank you so much for the presentation, and I'm so glad that our employees are utilizing this service, and it sounds like it's been a win-win, so that's great. How long does it typically take for someone to be seen once they call to or make an online appointment, however it works for you guys?
So for primary care, so to see Dr. Sacku or one of her colleagues, our goal is same day, next day availability. Now, that doesn't always mean that they want the time that they are being offered. So that doesn't mean their time. So if they want 3 o'clock, I can promise you almost that 3 o'clocks are the first to go. But they will be offered an appointment typically same day, next day. There are some ebbs and flows to that. When we get into 6 season, when it's really busy, sometimes that gets drawn out, but we're watching. And Marathon Health actually does a really phenomenal job. And and this is a testament to Dr. Sacku, because she's the one kind of raising her arm saying, hey, we need some help. They'll, even if we're not meeting that expectation and it's a short-term need, meaning it's just because we're having some sort of a influx because of a flu outbreak or something like that, they'll help. They'll bring somebody in to help assist. But generally speaking, same day, next day. Behavioral health has a longer turnaround time right now. That's something that we've been balancing since we started, as you can see from the expansion. Generally speaking, it can be pretty long right now. It can be a couple weeks. If somebody has an immediate need that the providers feel is critical that they be seen, they are seen in a they're seen immediately to make sure that they get the care. They're either transferred over to EAP or into the plan to make sure that they're getting care, or if that's something that Jen can accommodate within her schedule, she'll do that as well. But we're working on how to expand responsibly, making sure that our schedule is set up in a way that's that we're not just constantly adding and then getting to a point where we have too many hours and we can't fill them. And it is a balance that's challenging. Behavioral health is a challenging area. So,
What about like something like a physical? How long are your physicals usually like?
I mean, it's the same. Same day, next day.
Wow. So.
Now, if you have a particular provider, if you want to see Dr. Sacku and she's.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're open to, yeah, I mean, I just scheduled my kids' physicals and from my doctor, who's amazing, but
like
she's
9 months.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, to see her, it's a 6 month. To see her NP,
Yep.
It's for a physical. It's still like a 3 month, and you're talking about 45-minute appointment where they're spending that much time with the patients. So.
Well, thank you, and thanks for taking such good care of our people.
All right. Any other questions? Ms. Embry?
I was going to ask, and I think you started getting here, but one thing I've really been impressed by is how Priority One has really tried to stay ahead of what you guys need so you can keep meeting the needs of our teachers and our employees. So, adding vaccines when the time was appropriate, adding home delivery prescriptions, adding a medical assistant. Are there things that you guys see on the horizon for the evolution of the health center that you think are probably coming next?
I think the expanding behavioral health continues to be, but in a way that is meeting something that's not met right now. So one of the things that we're hearing is that people want care later, so they want it after the school day, the work day, and so how can we best do that? So we're looking at that, potentially looking at a virtual resource, recognizing that we're already seeing a tremendous amount of adoption in that virtual behavioral health space, though the continuity that this provides, we know this person is different than what you might be able to access through like a telehealth offering. So that's definitely something that's on our evaluation. And then musculoskeletal as a big picture is something that from a healthcare standpoint is constantly at the top of healthcare spend. It is, we're seeing the cost of physical therapy in the community go up substantially. And so are there solutions that make sense that could be, brought in-house? So we're looking at that as well. It's that, how do we continue to maintain we will not bend on level of care. I mean, that's just sort of the baseline of everything that we kind of, when we bring something to the table and we're all talking about it, we're saying, can we do this as well as Dr. Sacku provides primary care, as Jen provides behavioral health? And if we say no, then we say, okay, then let's figure out how to better just connect people versus bring it in. But those are probably the two things that are the most commonly discussed at our meetings.
Thank you.
Ms. Goodburn.
Thanks for the report, and thanks every year for coming back. Gosh, any organization would love to have these percentages on it must make you feel like fantastic when you read these and read the comments. So just congratulations on great work.
Thank you.
All right. I just wanted to help me make sense of interpreting the data. So the way I look at the post-visit survey results, asking about convenience of appointment and wait time and that kind of thing, is that one of the tools that I kind of interpret as managing growth? So those rates of response are incredibly positive. So to me, that means growth is being managed well, along with maybe being able to actually get an appointment or something like that. But
So it's I'm always an open book about the data because I never want to misrepresent. We are only surveying in these survey results the people who had an appointment. So it's possible that we're not getting people who called and didn't find an appointment that was available or convenient for them. I will say that. Though, if there's something I've learned about school districts over the last 10 years is that people talk to one another, and if my buddy couldn't get in, and I get the chance to put it in a comment, I'm going to say, I got in fine, but I know that there's people who are, so we get a little of that sometimes. We added that question early on because of some challenges, and it informed us. We moved our schedule to be, to have more overlap in that 3 to 4 hour, so that it did inform change. So yes, absolutely, we look at that. We look at our utilization. We talk to Dr. Sakiu, who talks to her team and says, who's calling and not getting in, or what are you hearing? So we get just some anecdotal data. And then on a annual, sometimes biannual, just kind of based on how much surveying you're having to do of your population for other things, we do another survey which surveys the entire population, not about a specific visit, but really the main intention is if you're not a user, tell us why. Tell us what are the barriers that are up, and then let us decide as a group collectively, are those barriers we can break down and maybe fix, or is this just sort of a barrier that we can't change? We can't make you live closer to the center, but maybe we can change hours. So we ask questions about it. So we really try to bring data in from lots of different sources, this certainly being one of them.
well, thank you very much, both of you, for being here. And I don't see any additional questions, so
Thank
appreciate
you so
it.
much.
Our next discussion item is 3.2 ESSER 3 Part 2 applications, or second half.
Yeah, so a
Barbara.
year ago, we brought to you Part 1 of the ESSER 3 application, which was approved by KSDE. And we are now at the point where we are ready to submit Part 2 of ESSER 3 to support learning loss recovery and operational needs for 23-24. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Knapp, and he's going to go through just what that application looks like.
Thank you. You're on the very last slide. And you can fast forward one. There you go. So you've seen this chart before. This summarizes all the different ESSER and the Sparks money that we got through Johnson County. It totaled about $38.4 million. We have completed the spending of ESSER 1 in Johnson County Sparks money some time ago. We have about $206,000 left in ESSER 2, and we'll use that to continue to fund our substitutes during this semester, and we'll have that spent by September 23. So ESSER 3, we had $23.7 million. We came to you a year ago for the first part of that application to KSDE, and that was approved. And so now we're going to take the remaining amount to KSDE here in February. Hopefully the process will be a little quicker than Part 1, since they have vetted everything in ESSER 1, and it's a continuation of our plan. And as you recall, the ESSER 3, the allowable uses, we still have to follow that guidelines. They're the same as the continuation of ESSER 1 and 2, with the 20% learning loss added to that criteria. When we did the first round of ESSER 3, it was required to do a stakeholder engagement of your community. We did a thought exchange in December 2021 to ask for their feedback on how to spend $2.3 million in uncommitted ESSER 3 monies at that time. And you've seen these slides before, we presented them, but we did have about 2,088 participants, generating about 1,065 thoughts and a total of $45,000, I'm sorry, not $1,000, 45,000 ratings of those thoughts. The participants ended up being about 59% in parent guardians, 10% students, and 29% district employees. These were the 5 highest ratings. 3 of them centered around pay, and 2 of them were around class sizes. And so by the different pay groups, parent and guardians honed in on the reduced class size, students were mental health, and the district employees talked about retention payment. And so that brings us to the application that we're going to be submitting here in February. The first column there is the application that we submitted a year ago, and application 2 are the ones that we're going to submit here in February. As you can tell, we have zeroed out social workers for 7 social workers, 4 high school counselors, and 7 elementary instructional coaches. The reason we're doing that is because the anticipation of the additional funding in our operating funds for the 23-24 budget year, we feel like we can absorb those into the operating funds, so we decided to move that up a year as opposed to waiting in 24-25. The math teachers of 10 and the elementary class sizes will still remain in ESSER 3, and the decision will have to be made whether you absorb them into the 24-25 budget year or you would have to reduce them out. Okay. The other line items that you see are 0, the middle school CARES team and the high school CARES team. They still have money left from their round 1. They have not spent all that, so they can continue spending that through September of 24. And so the total application will be $12.7 million for round 2. And I would, one more slide, Shelley, thank you. So to identify those positions again, there's 18 FTE. Those are the positions that are listed. It'd be $1.5 million that would be absorbed into the 23-24 operating budgets. And I'll stand for any questions.
All right. Thank you for the kind of looking ahead and mapping out, maximizing the use of our funds for our students. I'm going to look up and down the dais. Any questions? Ms. Borgman?
Thank you, Mr. Knapp. I appreciate the presentation. Can you just remind, kind of the public about this moving the staff into the operating budget? And, I know there's pros and cons to that, but by doing so, what that means to move the positions into the operating budget?
Yes, so when we added these positions, it rounded out the elementary schools that all have a full-time social worker. And we added, with high school counselors, we added an extra high school counselor and the real world learning, so they all had an additional one. And so by moving these into the operating funds, we're committing our budget in the operating funds to continue these positions. And it was the 23-24 right now, as is, it does look like we're going to have some increased funding. So this would be a good time to do that.
Thank you. Anybody else? I just had one kind of question back, talking about one of the requirements of the ESSER 3 funding, that 20% of the funds be used to address lost instruction time. And was that really just saying that at least one of the allowable use categories, that learning loss, that had to be 20%? I mean, because my understanding of probably closer to 80% of our funds are probably addressing learning recovery, not only through that learning loss, but through summer school and through, a number of other allowable use categories. Is that accurate?
I think your question is Did we spend a lot more than 20% on learning
Yes.
recovery? And the
Yes.
answer is absolutely.
Thank you for clarifying that.
More so in part one than we would in part two, right? Especially when you think about math teachers and social workers, absolutely learning recovery would have been addressed there. But I haven't actually done the calculation, but I would guess in part two, we're still well over 20%. But it is about the whole ESSER $3,
Yeah.
but we would be well above probably 80%, Russ?
Yeah, and
Just a guess?
yeah, and I would say when we put in our initial application, all that was vetted through KSDE. It took maybe 2 months to get our first application approved, and they vetted the 20% and all the allowable uses that we could use it for.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
So these ESSER dollars have certainly been nice in recovery. Any chance that there may be an additional ESSER, like an ESSER 4, or any, this is it?
I haven't heard anything about an ESSER 4. The only other thing that I would reiterate is, can you go back to the chart before this, Shelley? I just want to reiterate that next year at this time, we're going to have the same conversation around elementary class size, the secondary teachers, substitutes, and all of those things. And if we are planning to try to retain those into the operating fund, or if we're going to reduce those. But we at least have another year to spend ESSER dollars before we have to have that conversation.
Great. All right. Thank you very much. Our next discussion item is a legislative update. Item 3.3, Dr. Stuart Little is here with us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm happy to be here. Stuart Little with Little Government Relations in Topeka. I'll just give you all a quick update of where we are in the process and what's going on, and a couple of highlights, and then happy to answer questions. We are in week 3. A month from tomorrow, the legislative session will be halfway over. We are moving quickly. Not a lot of bills, not a lot of things going on yet. Because of the delay in the state of the state, which will actually take place tomorrow night now, some of the policy initiatives have been delayed, and so things are moving a little more slowly, at least publicly are moving a little more slowly than they have in some prior years. I would note that a couple of items that rolled out in the governor's budget that are of interest to us, the sales tax on food has an impact on the folks in our communities. There are a variety of tax issues coming around that are going to have some impact on property tax. There's the sales tax holiday, there must be 4 different bills that are going to, will likely get a bill passed that will have a sales tax holiday on a specific list of goods for folks as they're getting ready to go to school. I think first or second week of August, something like that it'll be. So that's in the works. There's a lot of focus on tax issues. There's a lot of focus on some economic development projects that are still in the works. And so in general, legislative committees, the education committees as well have been doing policy briefings. We obviously have a bunch of new legislators, particularly in the House, so lots of conversations about catching people up to speed on issues and those kind of things. So in general, that's taken place. We're just beginning to start having hearings on bills. There's a list of them in the report that we provided to the superintendent, and those hearings are getting going. There's one of significance, which is related to which the hearings are Wednesday, related to the scholarship program that exists. It will eliminate any of the needs requirements that were in there in terms of who is eligible to participate. And then it has, as the program is utilized more as it is now, will double the maximum from $10 to $20 million going forward. And so that's got a hearing on Wednesday of this week. Otherwise, a lot of the conversation, and I would note as well, the governor's budget that was recommended for K-12 fully funds the Gannon, last year of the Gannon issues, has the inflation increase, the CPI going out for 2 years, funds high density at risk, but notes in particular that high density at risk expires at the end of the 23-24 school year. There will need to be legislation to continue that. As of now, that legislation has not been introduced. So we're there. The budget itself has not been presented to the legislature, so the K-12 Education Budget Committee has not dug into that, neither has the Special Education Committee. So we'll have conversations about all that. It does include governor's budget, $78 million, I believe, for 5 years to fully fund special education at 92%. I'll make a note and comment that a lot of the focus at this point, and particularly the K-12 Education Budget Committee, where the main education budget and policy bills for the last few years have been coming out of, are spending a significant amount of time on special education. They just began today. They will go through next week having informational briefings on the history, the origins. Why do we have 92%? Why are we funding excess cost? Why do we pay per teacher instead of student? All of those kinds of questions. So essentially, they're having a pretty vigorous discussion that one would suggest leads to some potential rewriting of the special education formula. And if not that, concluding the exercise with some notion that there's lots of questions about this special education formula, and we don't need to be adding money to get up to 92%. The kind of the core of the conversation that's taking place in committee is that there is already 92%, if not more, funding in the special education system. We're just not counting it. And that's part of what a lot of the conversation was about today, and that's what folks are going to be looking at. For example, it has been asserted in committee that the money that a district such as Shawnee Mission has to use from the operating budget to pay the excess cost that you do not receive through the formula should actually be counted as a contribution to special education, getting us towards 92%. The other is that the funds that you all levy through the LOB that come for special education should be counted as special education funding. So this is reflective of a lot of the conversations that took place maybe 10 years ago, where we're going to expand what we count to try to get to a numerical number that there's some political challenges reaching that point. So that's kind of where we are. I don't know that the will exists within the legislature to change the special education formula this year. I think there'll be an effort to try it, but at the very least, I think we're kind of setting the groundwork to say this isn't the year to add more money for special education to get to 92%. So I'm happy to answer questions about that. We're just started down that path, and that's, I think, where the committee's going to go for the next week or so, with just a few bills in the way. In general, we're waiting now on the budget to be, the governor has released her budget, but the committee, both the committees will dig into that, the Ways and Means Committee and then the House Committee. So that's kind of what we're looking at. It is slow otherwise. There's a variety of bills on the list. None of them are real high priority issues other than the expansion of the scholarship program. We will expect to see a variety of legislation come later, but in general, and in any field other than property taxes and corporate income taxes and tax breaks and those kinds of things, everything else is moving pretty slowly here at the beginning of the session. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much for that update. That was some fast talking. It's impressive. Okay, I'm looking up and down the dais. Any questions for Dr. Little? All right. Thank you for your service. Yeah. I'll do one quick question. Is it fair to say that the costs of special education and all these questions have really been validated and affirmed by pretty much all of the professional organizations in education, as well as the governors, as well as like the budget office and the Department of Education, State Board of Education, all these agencies? And so I'm curious what organizations or entities are questioning the validity of special education costs. Is it coming from anywhere within the educational community?
No, I think a lot of the conversation began at the end of last legislative session, when there was an effort to add funding for special education to get to 92%, which brought some folks out who are not education-based entities, but other folks that are engaged in watching public policy and weighing in on the expenditures of taxpayer resources and those kind of things. And so they were engaged in that conversation, which carried over into an interim special committee, joint committee that looked at the special education formula, and kind of the result of that was lots of, the special education formula is a very complex system, and it has to do with, as you all well know, well, trying to explain what you all took a long time, probably if you came in here and served on the board, took a long time to work through, is the same kind of thing and process that a lot of legislators are going through, or you can sometimes have conversations without understanding the depth of that. But that level of complexity is kind of what they're all wrestling with, and it is reflected in asking more questions, and there's nothing wrong with doing that and asking those kinds of questions, but sometimes the answers need to be heard, and sometimes that's not always taking place in the process. So it's not educational folks that are saying this needs to happen. I mean, I think anyone who would say we need to be re-examining things all the time to see if they can be improved, but I think this is more along the lines of we're not counting things correctly, and I'm not sure that's right.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming tonight. All right, that concludes our discussion items, and it brings us to consent. So I will seek a motion to approve all of our consent items from 4.1 to 6.2.
So move, Goodburn.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second, Hembry.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, our first action item, 7.1, is approval for Apple device refresh. Dr. Hubbard.
So this is a refresh of our MacBook devices for middle school students and digital learning iPads for staff and students. Drew Lane is out, but Doug Von Mosch is here. So if we have any very specific questions, I'm sure they can answer. If they're general, Joe and I might be able to answer.
Okay. So I'm going to seek a motion and a second, and then we'll take questions.
So move, Borkman.
Thank you.
Second, Goodburn.
All right. Any questions?
I was going to just briefly ask, this is really looking at sort of the devices, but we have other places when we do our annual ICT program evaluation or regular ICT program evaluation, that's when we look at sort of the academic and instructional impacts of the devices. So these are sort of two separate.
Absolutely, and I believe we did the last one in November of 2021, so last school year. We would do that every other year in regards to usage, just because we have so many program evaluations. Can't get them all annually, but we would do that one every other year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next, 7.2, wireless access points, round 1 refresh.
So yeah, this is just part of our district's technology refresh plan, and this would be the purchase of our wireless access points throughout the district.
Okay. All right, I'm going to seek a motion, and then we'll take questions.
So move, Goodburn.
All right, thank you. Any questions? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Our last action item, 7.3, ratification of emergency expenditures with various vendors for remediation of December 2022 freeze damages that we heard.
So I mentioned
a little
most
bit
of this in the superintendent's report, but just one more time, I would like to just reiterate how amazing our staff was, operations and maintenance, and the ICT team. Many of them spent Christmas here working rather than with their families, and we are very appreciative of them. And it's a large expenditure. We're able to file an insurance claim, but in the meantime, we did have to exercise our emergency spending procedures.
All right, I'm going to seek a motion and then take questions. Thank you. Second?
Second, Boyd Nerona.
All right. Any questions? Dr. Gilhouse, thank you for pulling this all together and shepherding this.
The majority of the thanks go to the ICT teams and the O&M teams. They were awesome. So full credit to them. They've been great to work with. And we have two outstanding ones. First On-Site Restoration Company, because they're still working. We're still working to correct some of the damages that have been done, as well as we're waiting for the ICT furniture to come in. And we hope to bring that to you all in February and hopefully wrap up all of these challenges and get it financially worked out with the insurance company.
Great. All right, any questions? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, that brings us to board comments. Would anyone like to share?
Go Chiefs.
I'd like to say a short thank you for the video of those sweet students
Yes.
talking about what they think school boards do. It's clearly just as glamorous as they think. I did hear one of the kids that came to do the Pledge of Allegiance say, "This building's really cool. I think I'd like to work here someday." So I really loved having kids talking about what, even if they don't understand what we do, it was a really, really nice gesture, and I appreciated it.
That was a nice surprise.
Yes, that's awesome.
Yes, Ms. Owsley.
The Community Blood Center is doing a push for blood donations this month because our region is running very low, and I am not able to donate blood because I have really low iron. And I offered at our last meeting, I was going to say this, but then Mr. Stratton's comments I wasn't going to follow, but I will do the polar plunge in exchange for folks donating blood on my behalf. So if we could get a trade, if you're interested, Jamie already said she would donate blood if I was willing to do the polar plunge. So I will do the plunge if y'all will donate blood, if that's a fair trade. I don't know.
I'll donate money.
Oh, that
to
works
your-
too. That works too. All right, just the offer's out there.
All right, thank you. All right, I believe, was there anyone else? Okay, I believe that concludes our meeting for this evening, and we'll see you all again February 27th, or February 13th, sorry. Thank you so much.
Thank you.